So I had to ask them the question. Now that we've gone through the pros and cons of living in Houston, Texas, is it a yes or a no? And their answer? So in today's video, I'm going to go through a conversation that I recently had with some of my clients, the Rosens, who were considering moving from a suburb in San Diego, California to Houston, Texas. So together, we all decided to go through the pros and the cons of living in Houston based on their situation. And here's what we came up with. Moving to Texas really looked like it was going to be a huge financial windfall for them. And with Texas having no state income tax and the fact that the husband earned enough to put him in California's top income bracket, he immediately got a 13+% pay raise. And that is huge. That's just extra money of his that they get to keep and spend on what they wanted rather than send it to the government. But there is a flip side to that. In order to make up for that loss of income of tax revenue by the government in Texas still needs to operate and collect taxes, and as a result, they have a little bit higher property tax rates than what they were when they were living in San Diego. In fact, in the Houston area, depending on when the house was built, where it was built, and the area's amenities and services, the property tax rate ranges from about 2% in some cases to as high as 4% per year. And that can be a big difference. But when you pencil it out versus the amount saved in state income taxes versus the amount paid in property taxes, it turned out to still be a huge, big net positive gain for them. Now, one of the next big things for them was being close to the beach and outdoor recreation activities. I mean, in San Diego, they literally lived a half hour away from the beach, and it was a big part of their life. And one of the reasons they narrowed down their search to Houston is because even though it's in Texas, it's just about an hour away from the beach there as well. And those beaches are actually some really great beaches at that. In addition to the beaches, there are lakes and bayous galore in and around the Houston area, and there is a ton of outdoor recreation opportunities for them, including a ton of water activities. So yeah, they had to trade one beach for another, but the bottom line was that it was almost a toss-up when it came to this. So next we looked at the quality of life issues between the two. One thing that they were worried about was the diversity of culture in Houston. There can be a stereotype of Texas in general about the culture and diversity, or perhaps lack of it there. And that may be true in some rural areas of Texas, but Houston is a huge city. In fact, it's the fourth largest city in the US. And on top of that, it has been ranked as one of the most diverse cities in the country. With all of its benefits, things to do and opportunities, both economically and socially, it attracts people from around the country and around the world to make it their home base. And as a result, every culture, every flavor is well represented in the greater Houston area. It truly is a big, beautiful melting pot. So, with that concern satisfied, what kind of things are there to do in Houston? You'd probably guess that as the fourth largest city, there would be plenty to do, and you would be absolutely right. Professional sports, they got them. Football, basketball, baseball, and heck, there's even strong rumors that the NHL is making its way back to Houston. And food, well, heck yes, there are a ton of amazing restaurants in Houston. And it's not just barbecue. Although the people from Houston will argue that they have the best barbecue in the country, that's up for debate. But because of that diversity of cultures there is every type of restaurant you could imagine. Thai, Italian, Ethiopian, Caribbean, anything you can think of, they have a great restaurant in Houston for that. As well, there is a robust arts community in Houston with tons of festivals and exhibits and some fantastic museums as well. There's just something new to do just about every weekend to fulfill your need to get out and explore and try new things regardless of what you're into. And look, I know the Rosens have a 9-year-old, but there's sometimes that even the parents need a night out. And good news for them, Houston has a ton of places, nightclubs, bars, and places where they can go and get their adult time in. So yes, there is a ton to do in Houston, and they weren't going to get bored just, watching paint dry or the weeds grow. And all in all, Houston was looking like a great choice for them. And after hearing all those amazing things about Houston, I'd love to know what you think. Drop in the comments below whether you think Houston is a place that you could call home. And while you're at it, remember to subscribe so you don't miss getting the real deal on relocating to a new state or city. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in Houston. And we had to have that frank talk and discussion about that too. So what are the cons of living there? Well, there are a couple. And the first would be the summers. Look, Houston gets hot and humid in the summer. And if you've got curly hair, man, you better consider how good you look in a hat. Maybe that's why you always see people in Texas wearing those big giant 10-gallon cowboy hats. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you need a shower after your shower. And that's why during the summer, you'll find a lot more indoor recreation or early morning or evening activities rather than things happening right in the middle of the day. But the flip side is that other than summer, it's absolutely gorgeous the other 8 to 9 months of the year. And you can spend all day every day outside doing your things and taking advantage of everything that it has to offer. Now, the next con is that Houston and the South in general have one big thing in common. And sometimes they're really big things, and that is the bugs. Because of that humidity and all that sun, you can get some really big critters. And I mean cockroaches that can drive, spiders the size of small plates. There's definitely some wildlife with more than 4 legs. And if you're coming from an area without those things, there's definitely going to be a transition period. But give it time. Everybody goes through the shock and you finally just settle into the fact that that's just part of life with being in the area. The other big one is the construction and the traffic. I mean, look, the greater Houston area takes up a ton of real estate. It's huge. Houston is the 4th largest city in the US, and with more than 6 million people in that area, that is a lot of cars. It wasn't that big a deal for my client since he was working remotely and at home. But if you are relocating to the area for a job and you know where you're going to work, or at least want to work, you need to make sure you're picking a neighborhood that's close in proximity to your job. Because if you don't, you literally could be sentencing yourself to spending an hour or more each way just getting to and from work. The good news is that there are a ton of great suburbs and neighborhoods close to just about every major employer. So you should be able to find a great home all throughout the metro area. Now, at this point, going through all of things that were important to them, to the Rosens, I think they had a pretty good handle on the situation. So I had to ask them the question. Now that we've gone through the pros and cons of living in Houston, Texas, is it a yes or a no? And their answer? Well, the Rosens decided the pros definitely outweighed the cons, and they made the jump, moved to Houston, and are absolutely loving it. And if you want to see what houses in their budget of about $600,000 look like in a San Diego suburb versus a Houston suburb, I'm putting my bang for your buck battles, San Diego versus Houston, up on the screen right now for you to click on and watch. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of these videos. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. The Relocation King out.